Okay. So one thing that the alarmists and the media, particularly The Guardian, seem to continuously not mention is the drought. So they go, fires linked to climate change. Climate change linked with vice versa. There's something in the middle, and that middle thing is the drought. So if they went at least bushfires caused by the drought might be caused, or is caused, whatever they want, by climate change. That there I can start to sort of, I can go, okay, fine, fair enough, that's your opinion. I think it's a logical progression of your opinion. But going just straight from bushfires to climate change is absurd. We've had the chief scientist in Australia, Professor Andy Pittman, say that there is no link between the drought and climate change even.
I think I saw a headline that said that he then got smashed.
He then got
had
bullied.
To revise that to say no direct link.
That's right. That's right. He got bullied. He got heckled by the left. They got him in a ring and said, "We heard what you said." And he said, "Oh, no, what I meant to say was no direct link." But he's actually got a paper published where he also says it. There is no link between the drought and climate change.
Right.
So he said it verbally, but he's also got it published.
Yeah.
So this is the problem, and this is where, again, we'll go into the climate change argument, is where a lot of independent scientists, you can't be independent anymore in science. You have to join the climate change bandwagon, or you get labelled as a deserter and as a conspiracy theorist. You've still got your PhDs and everything. You're saying, no, I don't agree with the climate change mob who are alarmists. We've got to be sensible here. But then they get bullied. There are professors, and you'd be surprised to hear this. I was actually quite surprised to hear this too.
A couple of guys there's a guy in Queensland, I think, that got fired, right?
About the Great Barrier Reef.
Yeah.
But there's actually professors and climatologists and people of other sciences. I consider people of other sciences much higher standing than climatologists, because climatologists are glorified meteorologists. They just want to have their place. No, that's right. A physicist, a doctor in physics, a professor in physics is heckled and embarrassed by climatologists because he says, I don't agree with their science. There's so many. This guy, physics is also full of a lot of theories, but there's a lot of things in physics that's been proven. We know the speed of light. We know if your car drives 100 meters and takes a certain amount of time, it's traveling at that many kilometers. I mean, that's the very basic fundamentals of physics. But physics, I think, is a remarkable and very interesting science, and it's got a far more complexity to it. And anyway, I'm not going to go into that detail, but what I'm trying to get is if you're against the mob, you're their enemy. And what I was going to say before is you'd be surprised to hear that many scientists with PhDs and wealth of knowledge and tons of peer-reviewed journal articles either on their science or on climatology have received death threats for not speaking against climate change science. It's really not a name for it, but I'll call it that for simplicity's sake. But they're critical of the alarmism around it and their structure-logical arguments for why they think that, maybe what humans are producing is not having such a major effect as what what the climatologists say. And then you got to remember the left have hijacked it, so of course they're going to get death threats for being against the climate mob. I read that the other day and I thought, wow. I mean, we've seen it everywhere else, right? Where people of a different view to what the left have hijacked have a different opinion. They get death threats. But now it's gone. Now it's in science. Science is community in science where it's like, well, no, we don't really agree with your hypothesis. They get death threats. So it's a culture war.
It is. So we got climate change. We have the drought. You think the drought is like number one cause of the intensity of this bushfires?
Of course.
Drought's number one.
what we've had over the last 7 years is optimal growth in our bush. We've had humid, wet summers, humid and wet winters.
Right, growth for plants and stuff.
Yeah. Our bush has been thriving for the last 6 or 7 years. I remember when I first joined the RFS, the old timers in the RFS were going on about how the regrowth is very thick. And if we hit a dry period or a drought, we're in a lot of trouble. This was back in 2013 and 14 and 15. We already knew that. We could already see with the way the bush was thriving what was potentially going to happen should we hit the next drought. There's no climate change being thrown around. It was just observations. We were on the ground. I've been in the bush for 10 years. I've been driving around the bush for 10 years almost every weekend, and then I take probably a month or two either side of that to go and explore the bush and the outback. I work for an agricultural company. I've got farmers that are have got their own opinions on what fuel loads are and how they should be managed, and I've heard it from them. I've heard it from other farmers outside of my workplace. I've heard it out in the bush, in the high country especially. And we've known this for a while. And the bush just hasn't been managed like it used to be managed by the Aboriginals. Or naturally, you'd get a lightning strike and that might burn the entire eastern half of Australia down. But that would have cleared out all the crap underneath the canopy of the trees. Low intensity, low to medium intensity fire. You might have got some spikes of high intensity fire depending on what the weather did, but you'd had this burn that'll just consume all of Australia, consume all the forested or dense vegetated areas of Australia. And then you'd have a period of no fires. And then the cycle just started again with the droughts, with the rains. Australia is a land of droughts and flooding rains. And so are its bushfires, a cycle within that cycle.